guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. My name is Megan and I am a 24-year-old mama to a 6-month-old little boy named Rowan, and I make videos all about motherhood and lifestyle twice a week. So if that sounds up your alley, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button. Today's video was very highly requested and it is the next video in my What I Wish I Had Known series. So today I'm going to be talking all about what I wish I had known about pregnancy. There are definitely a lot of things that nobody tells you about pregnancy because they're not very glamorous, and I think everybody is afraid to complain when they're pregnant because it is this incredible gift and you're so grateful to be having a baby, but also the process of getting the baby into the world is difficult. So today we're going to be talking about some of those things. Not going to sugarcoat it. I do want to preface this by saying that I don't mean to be negative in any way, shape, or form. Pregnancy is a beautiful thing, but there are some things that I wish I had been emotionally prepared for, and those are the things I'm going to talk about today. So kind of starting from the beginning, I guess the first thing that I wish I had known was that the symptoms start right away. And that might sound obvious because in the movies, people are always like, they throw up and then they're like, oh, am I pregnant? And then they are. But a lot of the other symptoms that I thought would come later down the line happened right away. And one example of this is the constant peeing. That's actually one of the reasons I found out that I was pregnant, because I was like, why am I getting up to pee in the middle of the night so much? And I had kind of thought that that would happen later down the line when I got big and there was a baby pressing down on my bladder. But it turns out that when you get pregnant, your uterus like doubles in size very quickly. And because of that, there's less room for your bladder. So you have to pee all the time right away. That took me by surprise. On a more serious note, something that I wish I had known about pregnancy is about implantation bleeding. So I haven't talked about this on my channel before. I don't really know why. I think it's just because when this was happening to me, nobody knew I was pregnant. And by the time I had announced my pregnancy, it was like in the past and not really something I was thinking about. But when I was first pregnant with Rowan, I experienced implantation bleeding. And basically that is where the baby, the embryo, like attaches in your uterus and it causes like little tears and you bleed a little bit. And when you are newly pregnant and so excited that you're having a baby, you haven't even gone to your first doctor's appointment yet because they usually won't like take you in until 8 weeks to do your like dating scan, I think is what they call it. And then you start bleeding. It is terrifying, like probably the worst 2 weeks of my life, waiting from when I found out and like started having a little bit of bleeding to going to the ultrasound and being like, there's a heartbeat, he's okay, everything looks good, baby's in the right place, all of that. But it can be normal to have a little bit of bleeding. Unfortunately, sometimes the bleeding is not normal and people do have miscarriages, which is just heartbreaking, and my heart goes out to anybody who has experienced that. I'm so sorry for your loss. But just because you are having a little bit of bleeding very early in your pregnancy, like before 8 weeks, doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna miscarry. It happened to me. It was terrifying. I felt like I was gonna go out of my mind waiting for my doctor's appointment, and everything turned out fine. So thank God for that. I remember being on like the baby center forums, and there was a thread for people who were experiencing spotting or bleeding, and everybody just kind of freaking out together and being like, mine's okay, mine's not okay. And it was really helpful to have a community of women going through the same thing, even though we were all anonymous and we didn't like know who each other was or anything. But a lot of us who were in that thread have healthy babies now. So if that's happening to you, that is my hope, that you have a healthy, happy baby and it's just implantation bleeding. So then as your body starts changing, obviously you know that you're gonna get like a big pregnant belly, but it happens very, very slowly at first. I would say up to like 17 weeks, I didn't really notice a huge difference. I'll put some pictures up here of kind of the transition of no bump to big bump for me. But then after 17 weeks, things started to move very quickly. And I actually experienced some body dysmorphia where I almost felt like it wasn't my body. Like I had a hard time recognizing it as mine and feeling connected to my body when I looked in the mirror, if that makes any sense. And I think there's a sense of being out of control. I know some of my other friends who were pregnant around the same time as me also experienced this. And it's not the most fun. I will say for me, it pretty much lasted from like 18 weeks towards the end of my pregnancy, but thankfully my birth experience, which was very positive. If you haven't seen my video on what I wish I had known about unmedicated childbirth, I will leave a little card for you guys up here. But I feel like that healed a lot of that for me because I was so connected to my body throughout the entire experience because I wasn't like numb or anything from the waist down. I feel like my mind made the transition better of like, okay, we went through this whole experience and we had a baby. And after he was born, I was like, totally fine. I know that's not the case for everybody, but it did really help me, so I thought I would touch on that. If you are going through body dysmorphia and just body image issues being pregnant, I'm so sorry. It is so rough, and it's like there's nothing you can do about it because, you know, working out or eating right or whatever is not going to make you smaller because it's not like an unhealthy weight gain. It's just because there's a baby, so you kind of have to wait it out. I know everybody will say like your body's doing an amazing thing, and it is, but it's hard in the moment to feel like that. So try to give yourself as much grace as you can. Do things to show your body love. I feel like for me, doing like body butter like on my belly and my boobs while I was pregnant helped me to feel more connected to it. Didn't do anything to help stretch marks, obviously, because those are mostly genetic, but taking that time in the morning and the night to do that kind of helped me feel more connected. So that's something you could try. I think another myth about pregnancy that I wish I had known wasn't true is that your pregnancy is going to be like your mom's. My mom was like pregnant goddess, loved being pregnant, happiest pregnant woman, never got any stretch marks. And so I always thought that my pregnancies would be like that too. And then my pregnancy was hard. I feel like I can't really complain because I didn't have like really bad morning sickness, but in a lot of other ways it was very difficult. And I was totally caught off guard because I thought, you know, a lot of stuff is genetic. It'll just be like mom's. And it was not. Stretch marks also, you know, a large part of it is genetics, but my mom didn't get stretch marks and I did. So that's something that can happen. If it does, it's not a big deal. I thought that I would be bothered by it and I'm not. So hopefully if that does happen to you, that's your experience too. They're like my tiger stripes. And I say that now having done some very serious inner work to get through some body image issues. I know that it can be frustrating to hear that if you're going through it and you don't feel like, oh, my body did this amazing, beautiful thing. It's totally fine if you don't feel like that. Just give yourself time because over time, it gets less and less intense. Then moving further along in your pregnancy, after 20 weeks, if you are a back sleeper or a tummy sleeper, you're gonna be a little bit uncomfortable. And I'm so sorry to say that. I didn't know before I got pregnant that you couldn't sleep on your back. When you're pregnant, I knew obviously that you couldn't sleep on your stomach, but I didn't realize that you can't sleep on your back. And the reason is that your uterus is so big and heavy that it actually presses on your artery, your vein, vena cava, I think, that's back there, and it can cut off the blood flow to both you and your baby, and you can get really out of breath, and then your baby's not getting enough oxygen, and it's just not a good situation. And I am totally a back sleeper, and I had to learn how to sleep on my side. And I feel like my sleep during pregnancy was worse than my sleep with a newborn. Hands down. With a newborn, I was waking up more times, but when I was sleeping, I was able to settle into a comfortable position, so I was sleeping well. Whereas during pregnancy, I was tossing and turning all night. I would wake up on my back and kind of panic. It's not a big deal if you end up on your back for a little while. Usually your body will wake you up if it's becoming a problem, but it is still like scary. You obviously don't want that to happen. So that was an adjustment for me. What actually helped me the most was getting a big stuffed animal. The whole pregnancy pillow thing didn't really work super well for me. I did have one little wedge pillow that I put underneath my stomach to kind of support it and hold it up when I was on my side. But the biggest thing for me was just having a stuffed animal to hold, and like holding it on my side helped me to stay on my side for some reason because I wasn't like turning around with it to put it on top of me, if that makes any sense. So get yourself a cuddly stuffed animal. It's a nice little hack. Then when you get big enough, something I wish I had known is how difficult / impossible it is to shave your hoo-ha. I say that because I don't want to get demonetized, but y'all know what I'm talking about. I feel like I always saw funny images on social media of like the dad shaving the pregnant mom's legs. I didn't have a problem shaving my legs, but if you do shave downstairs, it is so difficult because you cannot see what you are doing at all. Like there's no craning over, you can't look to the side, like you cannot see what you're doing. And I definitely cut myself on multiple occasions. So that's something to be mindful of. Maybe get like a little hand mirror or something, I don't know. The next thing that nobody tells you about pregnancy is that baby kicks hurt towards the end. I started feeling Rowan kick around 16 weeks. I think it was like the day before I turned 16 weeks, and it was so exciting, and I loved feeling him kick. And I did love feeling him kick throughout my entire pregnancy, and I would always be like taking videos of my belly as it was moving around. Rowan was our particularly active baby. They told me that in my ultrasounds. They were like, wow, he's strong, and that has proven true since he's been here earthside as well. So this might not be the case for everybody, but for me, in the 3rd trimester, when he would kick me, it hurt. Or like at night, if he was like rolling around and his elbow would go from one side of my stomach all the way to the other, it like would keep me up. Not super comfortable. So the cute little baby butterfly kicks that you experience in the beginning, it does get more and more intense. It wasn't a huge deal. It wasn't like a huge disruption to my life, but the first time he like kicked me in the ribs, I was like, ow, like what just happened? So knowing that ahead of time is good, because then you're like, okay, I know what's going on. Then when I turned full term, or I think actually what they call it at 37 weeks is early term, where your baby's not considered a preemie anymore, but you're not like full term, like 40 weeks. I wish I had known to take my maternity leave then, because I pretty much planned my maternity leave to be starting like when the baby got there, and that was very naive. And I feel like a lot of people already know this, but I'm self-employed, so I had a lot of client work to get done, and I couldn't really just leave my clients hanging. So I took my maternity leave very late, and I think because Rowan was overdue, it was actually a couple days before his due date that I went on. So I did have the last week of being overdue that I was off. But you are so tired and exhausted, and the mental strain of being at the end of your pregnancy and feeling like your baby's gonna get there any day now. You wake up and you're almost like bracing yourself for pain all day, because you know contractions could start anytime, particularly if you're a first-time mom and you haven't experienced it before, so you don't know what to expect. That was challenging, and I wish that I had taken work off a little bit earlier in order to just be able to focus on getting through the day, resting, getting ready for the baby, all of that stuff. And then the last thing that I wish that I had known was that it is very, very common for first-time moms to be overdue. I thought that pretty much I would have my baby around his due date. I knew it wouldn't be on his due date most likely, but before or after. Sorry if you can hear Matt and Rowan in the background. Rowan just got up, so Matt's changing his diaper before I feed him. But yeah, so I thought, you know, somewhere within the 2 or 3 days before or after his due date, I would have him. That was not the case. I went almost a week overdue, and the mental strain of being overdue is insane. I feel like I hit my due date and then I just went insane for 5 days until I went into labor, and I was like eating the pineapple and bouncing on the exercise ball, and I made the eggplant parmesan, and like I tried all the old wives' tales. I actually have a whole video on like trying to induce labor naturally at home. It's kind of a funny watch if you want to see me desperately trying to go into labor. But yeah, that just being overdue was so crazy and hard, and you're so big and uncomfortable, and you're so ready and excited to meet your baby, and it was just every day was like, when are you coming out? So that was tricky. I think maybe if I had planned some activities for myself to do those last few days, it would have helped. I feel like the most at peace that I was the day before I went into labor. Matt and I walked around the little trail by where we live, and we did like a little foraged flower bouquet just because I was going crazy and I needed something to do, and that occupying my mind made me feel a lot better. It was tricky, obviously, because I had a baby in 2020, and we all know things are not normal. You can't just like go out and see family and friends. Hopefully if you're pregnant now, by the time you're having your baby, this will be better and you'll be able to do more things to distract yourself. But just prepare to be a little bit overdue. It's very, very common. Rowan was only 7 pounds when he was born, so he obviously needed a little bit of time to cook, and it was all fine in the end, but it was very difficult in the moment. So that is it for all of the things that I wish I had known about pregnancy, all the things that nobody tells you about being pregnant. I hope that if you are pregnant, this video was helpful to you. Congratulations. I will link my pregnancy playlist right up here if you want to see more of my videos on pregnancy and childbirth and all the tips on that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you lots. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!